Hi, I'm Joyce. I've been married 47 years, had two children. Children, of course, my son is now deceased. I have one granddaughter who is now 21 years old. So I'm the old girl in the group. And I feel that I bring to this group, first of all, my senior years, and second, the passion for young women. I've always had a passion for young women, but I did not know that that passion would be for women who are more in their 30s and 40s, still young women, but not the teenagers and 20s that I thought I would be serving. But the reason I always wanted to serve women is to help them before they end up in the troubles that so many of us land in before we're saved, and even after we're saved. So I wanted to help them, guide them. I counsel at my church, so that's one of the ways in which I help them. But I have a background, I feel, from experience that helps me to deal with and handle and help other women. I am a victim of incest, and a lot of people say, oh, you don't tell that, and that's a secret. But no, that's part of the problem. We keep the secrets, and we never get to be the person who sounds the alarm and let everyone know what can happen. My story, if you can say, happened when I was a little girl. Um, Before even memory started. But I can remember things about 4 or 5 years old. My father used to send my brothers to buy candy, and my mother was working to help us out financially. And then I would be alone at home with my dad, and I would hide because I knew what he wanted me to do. And so he would always find me. So one day a neighbor, and I was a little girl in the 40s and 50s, and in those days neighbors helped with the children in the family. And so one of the neighbors said, you're dirty, go home, get some clothes, I'm going to give you a bath. Little girls shouldn't be dirty. In those days, little girls were prissy and boys were not. They were muddy. And I hung with the boys. I had two brothers at the time, so I was muddy. So I went over to her house with my clothes. And while I was in the tub taking a bath, she asked me, what happens when the blinds close? And I told her I couldn't tell her because it was a secret. And apparently during the conversation, I must have told her my mother would get mad and leave if I told the secret. And being an older woman, that was all she needed to understand that there was something happening that wasn't right. So she told me the very next time I can just come over her house and stay with her until my mother came home from work. And I told her fine. So we made that little pact and agreement. So the very next time I went running over to her house and knocking on her door because the boys was being sent to buy candy. And I knocked on her door and I kept calling Miss Lucille, Miss Lucille. I can even today feel the panic that was in my voice. Miss Lucille, it was like, help, help. And she didn't come to the door. And I remember stopping and looked through her door because she had an all wood glass door. And she wasn't there. The lights were not on. There was no movement. And I realized she was gone. And I think at that moment, I lost my confidence and trust in people. Even the good people, the ones who have good intentions, I lost that because she was a good woman, had good intention, but she wasn't there when I needed her. So at that point, I decided to sit on the porch step, and maybe because I was so skinny, I can hide from the rail, behind the rail that was on the porch. But an adult has a responsibility to find a little child, and I didn't realize that at the time. So Dad was going to continue to look for me until he found me, and he found me and made me come home, and again in his bedroom. And that continued. And the only thing that saved me, I think, was coming to Detroit, moving to Michigan, because the house was full of adults and the opportunities were not there. But by the time I was 11, we were back into just our own family in the house, and he would do little things. Don't want to go into all the details, but one of the things I remember, I was thumped on the breast or kissed, made to kiss inappropriately. But the thumping, I went to my mother and complained, and she came back a few days later, and I asked her, did you talk to Dad? And she said, yes. And I said, well, what did he say? He said that you would thank him when you get older. And at that time, I realized my mother was a weak woman, and if I told her what was going on, that I would be vulnerable. I could be a victim then because anything could happen in that house. So I lived in fear until I left home, and that was at 21 when I got married. Living in fear every day was a reality for me. And I think now, because I've gone through that, and now I'm in my late 60s, and God has really healed me through relationship with him. One thing my mother taught me when I was a little girl is about Jesus Christ. And all through my life, although things happened, I knew Jesus was always there. I didn't know why he allowed them to happen, but I knew he was always there. And now I understand more fully that I'm to help women.